Nella stood under the blooming magnolia, barefoot on cool grass, a warm mug in her hands. 50 episodes, she whispered, smiling at the plain blue cup. From burden to bloom. Her phone buzzed. A message from Sophie blinked on the screen. Moved into my 2-bedroom today. Oh mine. No co-signers. No guilt. Because of you. Nella laughed softly and almost spilled her tea. She looked up at the petals and said, "That's healing." One lock changed. One no, that means yes to peace. The gate creaked. Riva came in with seed trays. "Ready to plant under the magnolia?" she asked. "Always," Nella said, kneeling beside her. They pressed roots into damp soil. Riva paused. "I still think about your old note on the counter." Nella snorted. "Surprise. A burden did this. I wrote it to sting them." Riva shook her head. "It was for you. Proof the burden was your strength." Nella wiped her brow. "Maybe it was a promise I didn't know I was making, to stop carrying what wasn't mine." The wind lifted petals like confetti. Somewhere a dove called. Nella breathed in the sweet air and felt the old ache tug, then loosen. "If someone hears the right word at the right time," she said, "they stop drowning." Riva pressed one last plant into the earth. "Then say the words again." The podcast grew faster than Nella expected. First she spoke alone. Then she brought in voices. Therapists, money coaches, adult children who had chosen peace over approval. A local journalist called. "Why share something so private? Weren't you afraid?" Nella told the truth. "At first. Then I realized silence only protects people who harm you. Speaking is necessary." The article ran, small but bright. In her inbox came messages like tiny lanterns. "I thought I was the only one. I needed that today." Nella answered each one at her kitchen table. "You're not alone," she typed again and again. One afternoon a letter arrived. Handwritten, a little wobbly. It was from Caro, her cousin. "I moved out of the basement. Opened my own account. Blocked mom from my credit. Saving for my first solo trip. You showed me that enough is allowed." Nella sat on the porch steps and read it twice while magnolia shadows dappled the page. Tears surprised her. They tasted clean, not bitter. She pressed the letter to her chest. "Grandma Elda," she whispered, "look what your seeds are doing." The wind carried the scent of green things. Inside a kettle clicked. Nella rose slowly, feeling taller. By fall, Nella rented a library room for the first Burden to Bloom meetup. 10 people came. No stage. No microphones. Just mismatched mugs and a plate of cookies someone named Lon had baked. They talked about lines in the sand. Locks changed, loans refused, holidays skipped. A woman with gray hair whispered, "My son drains my retirement." Saying no feels like I'm a bad mother. A young man stared at his shoes. "My parents opened cards in my name. I thought it was love." Nella listened, nodding. "Love without respect is control," she said softly. When the chairs scraped and the meeting ended, no one moved. They lingered like people warming their hands at a fire. As Nella packed cups, a shy woman asked, "Does it get easier letting go of the people who were supposed to love you?" Nella folded the table. "Not overnight," she said. "Some days you'll wish they'd show up and say, 'I'm sorry.' But the longer you stay gone, the more you see they don't get to define you. That changes everything." The woman blinked tears and said, "Thank you, Nella." Outside, dusk pressed its cool face to the windows. Inside, nobody felt rushed to leave. The new year came wrapped in fairy lights on the magnolia. Nella watched them from her window, tea steaming in her hands. Sometimes a whisper rose. "You gave up too soon." Then she remembered the recording her father didn't end, the word he used like a nail. Burden. She answered the ghost aloud. "No more." Grandma Elda's voice came back from memory. "Protect what's yours, especially your peace." The room felt warm and steady. Later, at a community hall, Nella stood on a low stage for boundaries and budgets, a workshop she built with a local nonprofit. Faces of all ages turned toward her. Here's the thing nobody tells you, she began. Sometimes the people who drain you share your DNA. Naming it isn't cruel. It's honest. Heads nodded. Pens scratched. Afterward, a woman hugged Nella hard. I'm not a bad mother for saying no, she whispered. A student said, I didn't know what my parents did was fraud. Nella packed leftover snacks with Aunt Marit, who wiped a table and laughed. Elda would be guarding the sign in sheet like a dragon. Nella smiled. She'd be proud. Of this, Marit said, tapping the stacked chairs. And of you. One quiet night, Nella opened her inbox. Among the messages, one title stilled her. Your story helped me leave. It was from Sophie, the same voice who later texted about the two-bedroom. Sophie wrote about years of being the family bank. Brother's rent, mother's late fees, loans with no end. Then she heard Nella's episode on love versus obligation. If you want me, it won't be through my wallet, Sophie had told them. Now she ate noodles on a studio floor and felt free. Nella read the lines twice, then 3 times as if they were a song. She typed back, your freedom is yours. I'm cheering. A week later came another surprise. Caro again. See you. I know the truth. Lunch sometime. Nella didn't know if she was ready, but she smiled anyway. Truth had ripples. Lies didn't swim well in bright water. When spring came, the new magnolia in Nella's yard burst open. Huge, shameless blooms. Nella sat on her porch while Aunt Marit called with news. Your father came by. Wanted me to talk sense into you. Nella sighed. Home isn't that house, she said. It's what I've built. Marit chuckled. That's what I told him. You built a life that doesn't need his permission. There were days Nella still wondered whether they'd ever understand what they lost. Not the bricks. Or the daughter who would have done anything, until anything became the whole of her. She reminded herself. I didn't leave them. They let me go when love turned into a receipt. One afternoon a letter slithered into her broker's office and found its way to her email. Her parents' proposal for family harmony. Nella should buy them a home to heal the trauma of losing the property Grandma Elda had left to Nella alone. She almost laughed. She forwarded it to Patra Wynne, her attorney. Patra replied quickly. No legal standing. Do not respond. Nella didn't. Silence, she'd learned, was a wall some people could not climb. In the morning she carried a neat stack of old emails and transcribed voicemails to the fire pit. The pages curled and lifted as ash. Done, she said. Not erased. Finished. Her phone buzzed. Leo, one of her first workshop guests. Got my own place. Taking Mom to see it tomorrow. Nella smiled at the screen. That, she said to the empty yard, is what freedom looks like. No permission slips. On a soft day in early spring, Nella drove to Grandma Elda's grave with a paper bag from the tiny bakery Elda had loved. She sat cross-legged on the grass. Hi, Grandma, she whispered, brushing a leaf from the carved name. You wouldn't believe how far I've walked. Or maybe you would. She talked about the podcast, the meetups, the way people's shoulders lowered when they heard you're not alone. She left the pastry on the bench, an offering of gratitude, not duty, and drove home with the windows down and music too loud. No tears. No replayed arguments. Just road. Just air. Back in her driveway, the magnolia threw open another fist of blooms, bigger than last week, as if to say grow anyway. At night, Nella read a message from Riva. Brunch Saturday? Yellow plates, bad jokes are usual. Nella typed yes. Bring the terrible jokes. She folded the phone away and felt the room breathe with her. Peace was not grand. It was ordinary and stubborn. Kept showing up. Holidays changed shape. The first winter in her new place, Nella wrapped one gift for Aunt Marit under a small fake tree. No panic buying to earn approval. No midnight bank checks to cover someone else's emergency. Just cocoa, soft lights and quiet. A reporter asked to interview her about family financial abuse. The headline later read, When blood costs more than money. Her father's email arrived the next day. Can't believe you aired private matters. Don't bother calling. Nella archived it without a flinch. He told on himself, she murmured. The workshops doubled. She built a forum and a small resource hub. After a long recording day, Leo texted. Moved out at last. No co-signers. Your words did it. Nella cried the clean kind of tears, the kind that wash, not drown. Aunt Marit visited and sat on the patio between boxes of blooming cuttings. Elda hoped you'd build bigger, Marit said. Not just for you. Nella looked at the flowers. I think she planted me on purpose, she said. Some seeds were meant for grandchildren. Marit squeezed her hand. She'd be proud. So am I. Night came slow and kind. The magnolia hummed in the breeze like something living and old and on her side. People often asked Nella the question that didn't fit in a neat box. Do you regret walking away? She always answered the same. I don't regret protecting my peace. I regret how long I thought I had to buy love. She spoke at a conference. A small silver magnolia charm warmed by her collarbone. Backstage, she rubbed it and thought of the girl who once stood outside doors, praying to be let in. On stage, she told the real version, about the house, the call her father forgot to end, the note on the counter. Gasps rippled. A woman stood. What if you still love them? She asked, voice shaking. Nella took a breath. You don't have to stop loving them, she said. But ask this. Does loving them mean losing yourself? Love that needs you to disappear isn't love. It's control. Afterward, hands pressed her arm, slipped her folded notes. I didn't know I could say no. In the lobby, an organizer handed her a card with looping cursive. A burden did this. Nella smiled, hearing her own voice echo back without shame. Later that night, an email arrived from her mother. We need to talk. Call me. Nella closed the laptop. Dr. Soren's voice floated up from memory. Not every invitation is worth accepting. In therapy, Nella asked, why do I still feel like I owe them? Dr. Soren folded her hands. Your mind knows what they did. Your heart remembers what you wanted them to be. Grief is complicated when the people you lost are still alive. After the session, Nella sat on a park bench and watched the sky fade to gold. She opened her phone to the last voicemail she had saved. Her father's voice calling her ungrateful. Her thumb hovered, then tapped delete. The world did not end. Brightened by one notch. Work swelled. After a Saturday workshop, a young man lingered. How did you get over the fear they'd never forgive you? He asked. Do you want their forgiveness? Nella said gently. Or your freedom? He blinked. I thought they were the same. Sometimes forgiving yourself means accepting they may never apologize, she said. He nodded, eyes wet. Thank you. On her drive home, Nella realized she needed those words too. The magnolia met her at the curb with petals like open hands. In her kitchen, she poured tea and wrote a promise in her journal. No more trading my peace for permission. She underlined it twice. The kettle clicked. The night felt steady.